I love to interview successful law firm owners and hearing their stories, how they did it. This episode is no different. Daniel Scola has built a substantial size IP law firm. His story is fascinating, and there are so many insights that he shares of the key things that he has done and key skills that he has developed over the years that led him to building this very sizable IP law firm. And just you listen to him, sounds like a very content, very happy man who has achieved so much. This was one of my favorite interviews of all time. Enjoy. Hi there. I have a small but really meaningful favor to ask you. I watch at the stats on our YouTube channel and Spotify channel, wherever most people listen and watch our podcast. And I see that over 80% of everybody who listens to it regularly is not a subscriber. I'm asking you to subscribe to this channel. And the reason for that is my mission and the mission of my team is to help as many small law firm owners to learn how to transform their law firms into better businesses, and so they in turn enjoy better lives. When you hit subscribe button, you tell these platforms that this is content worth listening, worth viewing, and they in turn will show it to many other small law firm owners and hopefully help me fulfill our mission of helping them create a better business and enjoy better lives. So would you please do me this favor? It would mean the world to me, and hit the subscribe button. And my promise to you is that I will continue to work hard at creating good content with practical ideas that help you and your teams grow better law firms. Thank you. Welcome to Grow Law Podcast. I have an amazing guest with me here today, Daniel Scola of Hoffman and Baird from New Jersey. Started in the legal field. I mean, your journey was just so different. I think there's tremendous value in your story and how you grew the business. So why don't you kick it off by telling us the pre-story, why you got into the legal profession, how you got there?
Well, I mean, I was a science major, but I didn't really want to be in the labs. I was tired of having acid burns on my sweaters in the winter, smelling like formaldehyde and all the other things that you have in the air and inside a chemistry lab. So I was working for my dad during a summer, doing some things that he had asked me to do, chemistry type oriented things, and he had developed some really interesting inventions, and one of them was he was using polyester type materials to make these prefabricated bathroom fixtures like bathtubs and sinks and things that you could use even for high temperature. And he had developed a wonderful marble looking polyester. You couldn't tell the difference between that and marble. And he brought them to someone who could manufacture them. And he was not really, he didn't really understand enough about how you protect patents, although he had many patents of his own. He wasn't really understanding, that his ideas could be stolen. And they, in fact, stole the ideas and they started manufacturing it. And my father at the time didn't have the wherewithal, the money, or even the desire to just spend all his time, in a lawsuit and possibly not win. But his notebook records were stolen, so we know that they had the formulations and so forth. So my mom said to me, this is something that, maybe you could do something about someday. And I thought, well, gee, I don't know what I would do to do that. I didn't know anything about patent law. Had no idea. I was a chemist. So I went to law school, and it stuck with me. And, then I put myself through law school by getting a job in a patent department. So I was interning during law school. And
help me understand. I want to make sure that I connect the dots. Did you decide to go to law school because of what your mom said, or was there always an inclination?
It was a combination of what my mom suggested, that maybe this would be a field where you could do something and maybe help people like your dad. Because, he had his ideas, maybe patent law is the way to go. I knew nothing about patent law, but I had to go to law school in order to be a patent attorney. So I went to law school. And it turns out that I was able to get a job during law school in a patent department and get trained. So I was trained by in-house attorneys. Normally, in-house meaning corporate attorneys. Now, back when I was trained, they had departments where they spend the time training you because it's a very much of an apprentice situation. So when you get a lot of attention and people, look at your work and they criticize it and they redline it and they teach you and then you go back and you're not on the clock officially because you're not billing clients. You're in a corporate environment, which allows you, the luxury of spending as much time as you need to learn. That really helps you progress. So I learned there inside a corporation. And there were two corporations that I worked for, and one trained me really well. And these guys were also trained by programs inside. These days, nothing gets trained inside. It's all done by outside counsel. So if you go to a firm and they have a good training program, great, you're going to get trained. But if you go to a firm where they just want you to carry a bag and just be someone, give me these documents and to summarize this, they're not really training you. So that's the big thing. So I always say to people, if you're going to go into this business, go someplace where someone will mentor you, someone will train you, someone will spend time, because training, you can't bill for training. So there's an absorbent cost that you have to have if you're going to put training into someone in this field. So that's how I got into it, because I got trained inside, and then then I got an inside job, and then I realized, the pressures of inside people are different when you have pressures of an inside counsel, very different than pressures of the outside counsel. So when I decided to move from outside counsel, Sasha, to from inside counsel to an outside firm, I took that knowledge of what does an inside person really need? What demands does he have on him that he's looking for outside counsel to satisfy? So, when you're trying to get business from as an outside counsel, and you're trying to get corporations to give you business or clients to give you business, you have to understand what their needs are. It's not about, hey, look what I can do for you. It's about, what do you need to run your place better? What is you looking for in terms of protection that you think you need, or maybe you don't even know what protection you need. So finding out what they need is the key, and then giving something to them as opposed to just wanting to get from them. Give them something first, and so I got started as an inside counsel in addition, and to move from inside to outside is a crazy move. Most
Hmm.
people start on the outside
Then go
and
inside.
then they go inside. And they do it
Why
for a
did
lot of
you?
reasons.
You just mentioned a few major tenets of salesmanship. This is not something that you learn in law school, I assume.
Well,
Where
no,
did you
I
pick
mean,
up
none
on
of this
that?
I learned in law school.
Where did you pick up on those sales tenets? Because this is what a lot of lawyers, including law firm owners, are lacking. It's the sales acumen, yet the job requires some salesmanship. It's inevitable. Unless you
Oh, yeah,
work in the government where work just comes to you. In all other instances,
absolutely.
you have to know how to do this.
You do, and there's a piece of it that you can learn,
Hmm.
but there's also a piece of it that some people have a better acumen than others for. So, for example, just the people issue. I look at it as I know people use this term emotional IQ a lot, and
Hmm.
maybe they use it wrong, but truthfully, if you have a really good sense of how to deal with people, and you can read situations and people in situations well, and you have sort of an empathetic side to how you view the world and how you view people, you pick up on stuff other people don't, and you'll find that those kinds of skills allow you to get more information from people. People will trust you because you're more willing to give to them, and that sort of thing. I mean, the worst thing you can do is just go and give here's how great we are, and maybe you are great, but I find people don't care as long as you're really competent. They want competence, core competence. It's just like people want a good product. If you don't have a good product, don't bother selling it to them, right? But core competence is almost a given. So once you say, well, I know I have the core competence, you know, they want to work with people they like, people who make their life easier. So do I pick someone who's the best attorney in the world, but I can't work with him. I just can't stand, or her. I can't stand the interaction. I never feel good after the interaction. And that's another thing. People have to know that there's a good communication style. They feel good about the communication. If you have those, and I think that's a lot of sales. You know, you can't sell someone yourself unless number one, you understand who you are and you believe in who you are, right? And number two, you have to know what they need. What do they need? What do they need to hear? What is important for them? And then you sort of marry the two, and you find out what they need. And I usually like to ask questions about uh, you know those things they need. But then in the answers, I'll say, I have a situation that was very similar to yours. I have a problem recently that was very similar to yours. A client had this similar problem, you know, and they usually say, well, how did you solve it? And if you have the answer, you say, well, I did X, Y, and Z, and that seemed to help out. And they'll say, well, I don't have X, Y, and Z. Say, well, your situation's different, but there are also other ways. I mean, you could also consider doing this or this. So these are little things, and don't expect them to say, oh, here's all my work. You need a foot in the door. I always say, if you give us an opportunity to help you, we'll help you. You know,
So you instill confidence in your prospective clients
they,
out
they,
of the gate.
you have to be the one. I'll use I'm a baseball guy, but I'll use a basketball analogy because this one's like more apropos, I think. They want someone who can sink the 3-point shot at the buzzer. That's what they really want, right? Now, would they rather have someone that they like doing that? Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
That makes their life easier? Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's really not that hard, but I find the younger people have more difficulty with this because they don't interact with people a lot. They text more, they email more, they're not on the phone. And good phone skills are just not present in most of
Mhm.
the younger people coming up. They don't talk on the phone, and they're almost afraid to call. And fear is the largest impediment to getting a client. It is huge. It is huge. Oh, I don't know enough to get a client. Oh, I'll be over my head. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to say. Those things all come into, we've all been there. I mean, it's not like you suddenly have all this bit of knowledge and experience, right? But I find that's the most difficult thing. And there's a portion of it that you can teach. And the main thing I think you can teach is to got to put your foot in the water. I mean, you've got to overcome the first bit of fear to do it. But you have to meet people in order to do it. You cannot just sell on video. I mean, there's a piece of it that has to be done in person, in my view. That's my view.
Certainly. So going back to your story, you're going through law school and you're getting trained by inside counsel that actually had a training program, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's akin to going through a medical school and learning in the teaching hospital.
Very,
You're
very much
going
like
and
that.
you're
Very much
seeing
like that.
cases with your real eyes, seeing patients
Yeah.
every single day. It's
Yeah.
different than looking at the book. Very different than
Yeah.
just
It's
looking
very
at the
different.
book.
Yeah, it's very
So
different.
you see all of this. You graduate from
Yeah.
law school. What comes next?
Well, I got a full-time job offer at the place that I was working to stay as an
Mhm.
attorney. And then I got another offer from a large pharmaceutical company to move from Connecticut to be in their department. And so I took that inside job at a large pharma company. And that's where
Right out of law school.
sorry? Just
Right out of the law school?
right out of law school. Yes, it was uh, a few months afterwards because I did have a job. I did accept the job that offered
Hmm.
me the internship at begin with. But then, then I decided it was time for me to take a look at other opportunities. And so I thought, well, there was this job offer that was given to me from a pharma company that I knew. And so I said, I'll take that. And I spent 10 years there and I just went up the ranks and became corporate secretary and so forth and so on. But so much of being successful in life is, and this is my own views, of course, is being willing to take a risk is because it's a lot like if you look at it's almost like playing poker. Okay, in a sense, I'm not a big poker player, but I look at poker. What is poker? Poker, you have a certain number of facts in your hands, and you have a certain amount of chance and uncertainty. And that really is analogous to almost everything in life. We know a certain amount, we have facts, but we have to make decisions based on those facts and sort of our instincts, right, as to what might happen in the future. But a lot of that is chance. But we can't just stand still and hold the cards. We have to make a move. So you're going to make moves that are based on your current situation, and they're going to be wrong.
Mm.
So you change it. So now you make a right move, and you're going to be wrong a lot, but you're also going to be right a lot. And the more you're right, the more self-learning you have. And everyone talks about AI, but we are the first AI that ever existed. Our minds are basically the computers that learn based on experience, right? And we even contextualize it better because we don't have a program. We have our entire mind that's open to whatever we've seen in the past. So we integrate it so much better, I think, than a computer ever will, even though they'll be able to analyze more data at one time. But
Mm.
so that's how I look at it. And so you take the risks, be wrong. I mean, I left a corporate job where I was high up, making a good, very good, a lot of money to start this practice. When this is a very small firm when I joined, and they said, "Would you come join our firm?" I said, "I don't want to really move." And they said, "Well, maybe you can just start an office in New Jersey for us." And I said, "That's interesting. I've done the corporate stuff. I turned down a big job at a very large company. They offered me a top position. I turned it down to basically be in my home and start this office." And at the time, they thought I was crazy because I had no clients. I had no experience running a law practice. All I had was my wits and my guts. That's it. And I said, what's the worst thing that could happen? I fail and I go back to corporate law. Best thing is I don't fail and I become entrepreneurial.
Hmm.
And I gave up a lot of money in the beginning to do that. I did. That's okay. Money is money. You don't need I wasn't chasing money. I think, and I tell my associates, don't chase money. Chase the quality of the work, and then business comes after that. People will come to quality of work. Your reputation is everything. It takes you years to earn it and seconds to lose it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just rambling now. I'm sorry, Sasha, but
No, no, this is such a beautiful story. I'm curious. Is that singular focus on quality of work, is that what got you from just starting off in that corporation as an inside counsel and then rising up to the ranks of the corporate secretary within 10 years? And arguably, you were still a young man, probably your mid 30s, early to
yeah,
mid 30s.
yeah,
Like that is an unusual ascension.
yeah. It was. I think it was a combination of things too. I mean, I was in a right position at the right time. But I also was able to take advantage of that right position because people, good things happen to people all the time. They don't realize they don't take advantage of it.
The- mhm.
They just don't. They don't see it.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to see it and then just take advantage of it. So I was when they would this is how it happened when they would cut down the head count so we would lose the lawyers, I would just take their job on. I would say, I'll add it to my job. I'll take it on. Like I was trained in patents. How did I get trained in trademarks? I took on the trademark role because they lost the head trademark guy. They said, well, we'll put you only in trademarks. I said, no, I prefer not to. Because all attorneys who are attorneys can do trademark law. Not all attorneys can do patent law unless they pass the patent bar exam, which is a separate exam you have to pass, and you can only qualify if you have a technical degree to even take the exam. So I didn't want to be among the masses of attorneys who could do trademark work, which I mean, I don't denigrate anybody who does trademark work. I think it's a tremendous profession, but I wanted to also keep my expertise in patents. So I said, I'll just do the work. You don't have to make me head of the department. Just give it all to me and I will just do the work. So when the people would leave, I would take on their job. All of a sudden, I'm doing 3 or 4 jobs, and they're like, this is terrific. Let's just give the guy.
Were you working 100 hours a week at the time?
No, I actually worked hard, I have to say, but I was doing, and I wasn't a workaholic. I found a way to work efficiently, and I guess you would call it working smarter rather than harder. Because back then we had, we didn't have much on the cell phone business. There wasn't the internet. This was in
These are the 80s, right?
80s and 90s. 80s,
Yeah, okay.
80s. You're right. It was the 80s for the most part, and then the early 90s. Yeah, because I began in the firm in the 90s, in the early 90s. So yeah, I was with that company, the pharmaceutical company. It was at the time it was one of the Lambert company, but they got purchased by Pfizer. But I was with them for the 10-year period from about 81 to 91.
So you were such a tremendous asset for them, because it sounds like you were doing the job of 4 men for a
I was
salary
doing a
of
lot of
1,
jobs.
and you were doing it very efficiently, so you didn't lose your mind in the process.
I did not. No, I did not lose my mind. I mean, I'll tell you though, the biggest issue was just managing stress, because when you put a deadline on something, your mind already brings the anxiety level that you can meet that deadline already goes up. And in the IP business, deadlines are like daily. Like you have daily deadlines on everything. I
Sure.
mean, a lot of professions do, but these are sometimes hard deadlines, statutory deadlines. You lose IP if you don't do something by a certain date, and you lose the protection. Then the client is like, well, you lost my protection. We have a serious problem. Maybe
Has that ever happened to you?
no, I don't lose. I've never. I'll tell you what. There's always everybody has close calls, but I call them kick saves. If you're in the, I use a lot of sports analogies. Don't ask me why, but it seems
I
to
love it.
they just come. So this is like a hockey analogy. It's like a kick save, or a soccer analogy, football analogy, kick save. So they don't make the goal. But I've run into those a lot. Like it's like, oh, it's 11:30 at night. I got to have something done by 12. You know, like, oh, it's not done. I got to do it. I've run into the New York City when the days where you had to file something by midnight, and the post office is open there until 11:59, then closes for like 1 minute, and then it opens up again. I've had those nights in my, when I was working in the corporation. Um, but I also think that this IP business is it wasn't a sexy business to go into when I went into it. No one could have predicted the explosion in technology, and that you would need to protect it as it continued to grow. It wasn't sexy at all. I mean, if you say you were in the patent department, a lot of people would say, well, he's really not a real attorney. They just sort of a warmed over engineer or a chemist, and he's got a pocket protector on with all the pens in there, and he's probably walking around with glasses bumping into walls and things like that. Oh yeah, probably a smart guy, but he doesn't deal with people well. So if you could deal with people well and be an IP attorney, then you're unusual. Then it became, oh, slightly different. That's a whole different skill.
Mm. That is very interesting, because that leads to the next phase of your life, of your journey, where today You're the managing partner of, I believe, close to 20 IP attorneys.
Yeah, so we've been up to 30, but it's anywhere between 20 and 25 at one time. It depends on the the ebb and flow.
So I still hear that IP law is not a sexy practice area, and most IP firms, from what I've seen, are very, very small. So you've had like a very uncommon journey, and your results are outstanding.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think being look, in the early days, what I sold was uh, myself, someone they could trust, backed by a firm that you would give me really good coverage. That was the early days. And what I would say is I know your needs in the inside because I wasn't inside, I was in your shoes.
mhm.
And I know your needs are getting pressed by the marketing people, by the business people, by the corporate people, by lots of little pressures inside counsel because you have a lot of people, but it's all internal. You have to report to, and they all need their needs met. So if I were to meet your needs as an inside counsel, I need to understand those pressures. I understand them. I had them. I hired outside counsel when I was inside counsel. A lot of times they would give me what I would call a white shoe answer. Oh, it's very academic. It's legally 100% beautiful, all that kind of stuff, but it's not practical. I need to go from A to B in a cost efficient manner. And I'm not concerned about the academic answer because we're not having a conversation theoretically here. I need a practical answer.
Mhm.
And I need to do it in a cost efficient. So what do I really not, do I not need to worry about? What can I really focus on? And if someone says to you, what's your opinion? You better give them your opinion and don't give them, well, on the one hand, there's this. On the other hand, there's this. You choose. That's not what they're looking for. If you're giving them on the one hand and on the other hand, you better say, but my recommendation is you do this. You
Yeah.
certainly tell them the risks, but you've got to give them direction. And inside counsel wants the direction because they are going to get pressed for direction. They don't want a wishy-washy answer. A guy's going to spend $100 million on a project. He wants an answer. Give me your best answer. You know, if
Yeah,
you're going to
the
be,
one that will stick.
yeah, and if you're going to be wrong, be bold about it. I mean, just believe in what you're saying. Don't guess, but don't give me a wishy-washy answer either.
Yeah, I recently listened to an interview with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from
Oh
Shark
yeah,
Tank.
yeah,
Very smart guy, multi-billionaire.
yeah.
He was talking about other high-profile executives who he knows, and he said the worst one he has ever worked with was Steve Jobs.
Oh, I think I saw that.
And,
Yes, I
yeah,
did.
and he said what made Jobs absolutely brilliant is his understanding of noise to signal ratio,
Right.
which is noise is everything that you hear and everything that you can do, and signal is actually the things that are valuable.
Yeah.
Like Jobs always could tell what's really valuable and was able to separate it out from everything else and just focus on very few things that would stick,
Yes.
which is analogous to what you were just saying. Like,
It's very much so. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you can be nice to people while you do it. That's the only difference.
mm,
I mean,
he was not nice to people,
yeah.
according to
I
O'Leary,
don't know
at all.
that I was just saying what O'Leary was saying was he wasn't nice to people. I have no idea. I mean, I don't make that judgment, but I'm just saying you can effectively cancel the noise out and still be an effective manager. That is because if you're going to understand how people work, nobody beats their people to get good work out of them. They can't do that. You have to motivate your people. And sometimes you have to understand the people that will take criticism one way versus another. You can say the same thing to two different people, they'll take it two different ways, right? And
Sure.
and it happens also in genders. I mean, some things mean, to one gender they mean something different when you say it to
Yep.
gender. So you have to know your audience really well, and then you have to communicate, extremely well in addition. So no, it's the hardest thing is dealing with the people and managing people, the work. even the most complex legal problem or complex science problem, those are things we are innately good at and can learn. The people issue is something everybody just assumes they're good at, but they're not. They're just not. And that is more important, because if you have a brilliant idea and you can't communicate it to someone or can't get someone to work with you on it, forget it. It won't ever get done. It's just going to get
I
lost.
find it interesting. There has been a lot of research that indicated that majority of attorneys are introverts. And for introverts, communications with other people could be a bit more challenging. Like you actually have to labor through it, at least in the beginning. And thus, I appreciate that analogy. I think you use the analogy of like putting in the reps, actually doing it
Yeah.
to get through it and get better at it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've built up this war chest of skills and experience, which leads you to the next phase of your journey where you are offered to join as a partner, if I'm not mistaken, a law firm in 1991.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I was actually offered to join not as a partner. And I took the leap from a high position to, because I had no business and I had no experience. I had no clients and I had no experience in a law firm situation. I knew I could
Mhm.
do the legal work. That was a given. That's one of the reasons they hired me. But the real reason they hired me was because they knew that I could talk to people. Doesn't matter if they're a Nobel Prize winner or a housewife who has a great idea and she wants to talk about it. Doesn't matter the strata of intellectualism or the strata of economics or whatever it was. It was the people issue. And they said, you don't know anything about the legal practice, but you're going to be great at it. And I didn't know what they were talking about. I had no clue. I really didn't. I was like, if you say so. I mean, if you're willing to take a chance on me, I'll take a chance on you. So,
How did you end up getting that offer from them? This is an established law firm, I assume. They've been around
yeah,
for
it
some
was the
time.
firm I'm with now. They were established. Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I was inside counsel, um, this law firm was on the other side of a matter that I was handling. And I respected the way they handled it. They had
Hmm.
upper hand in a situation. They didn't take advantage of it. They tried to reach a win-win situation as best they could. I mean, win-win has a lot of meanings, but usually it's a positive meaning for each side, right? Um, so they didn't try to push it to get the absolute maximum best deal for their client to the worst deal for the other side, because long term sometimes that's not the best way of handling it. People like to feel that on both sides that it was a fair situation, and this firm did that. So I hired them to do some work for the company as a result of that, and I got to know them and they got to know me. So they were trying to make me leave the corporate world for a long time. And then finally, when Warner Lambert had a program where they were offering early retirement to people, and I was, like you said, I was in my 30s. I was like, well, I've got 10 years here. Um, I could take the early retirement program, because they offered it against, it wasn't a huge package or anything, but it was a nice thing, and I got a couple of jobs, and one of them was with what's called, it was back then, it was Sand, it was called Sibagagi, and the other one was with J&J, and I accepted the J&J job. And the managing partner of this firm, Ron Barron, because Hoffman and Barron, called me up on a Saturday morning. I was supposed to start that Monday at J&J, and he said to me, "Can you come over for lunch today?" And it's a few hours away, about 2.5 hours. I said, "Yeah, I could. What's up? I mean, I'm fine with that." But he goes, "I want to talk to you about starting an office for us in New Jersey." And I said, "Well, I'm starting at J&J on Monday." And he said, "That's okay. Let's just have a conversation. Come over anyway." And after the conversation, I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to tell J&J that I'm not going to take the job. I was supposed to start on Monday. I called them on a Sunday and they said, "Are you crazy?"
What swayed you over? I mean, here's J&J, meaning Johnson and Johnson,
Yes.
multinational,
Yeah.
ginormous corporation.
Terrific organization. Yeah.
They probably offered you something like
A
highly
good,
valuable
good
position,
job. A great job. Um, I,
but you say no.
I was just looking at myself a little bit and I said, I've been doing the corporate thing, but what is it that I need personally? I need to exercise an instinct that I have, which was entrepreneurial. It's an instinct. It's just not. It's something that is part of my personality, and I needed to express it somehow, and I
Mhm.
wasn't going to express it inside. There's only so much you can't. I mean, you have the construct of the corporation around you. Only so much can you be entrepreneurial because you've got rules, you've got the budgets, you've got people above you. In the firm situation that he was offering me, he said you can start the office and you'll. I said I don't have any clients. I don't know how to run an office. He goes, you'll figure it out, which left a blank slate to me. So I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I got to find something. So yeah, that's what made me change. And I called up the head of the guy, J&J, for the job I was going to report to. I called him up and I said, um, "You're not going to believe this." And he said, "You are crazy." He said, "You're crazy. You're not going to have this. You're not going to have that. Do you realize what you're giving up?" And I said, "Well, I know, but look at the opportunities I have, and I could make something out of it. And what's the worst thing that could happen?" And that's where we started at the beginning of this interview. What's the worst? The worst thing is I go find a corporate job again. Usually there's not a place in life where you run into a wall and there's no place to turn. That's not usually the case. I mean, I suppose they do happen, but that's how I looked at it. We'll figure it out. It's okay. And I took the leap, and I was in my home, and I had no clients. And I woke up in the morning and I said, okay, what do I do now? And so I had to figure out, and I got myself into my car, and I made some appointments with people that I knew, and I took the managing partner with me because I wanted to introduce him because he's the face of the firm at the time. And I got what turned out to be two of the largest clients the firm has ever seen. And one of them I still have.
34 years later.
Yeah.
And you were still a very young man when you were doing these calls.
I mean, I think so. I was in my 30s.
In your 30s. That's
Yeah,
pretty young.
yeah. I mean, people don't, and look, I do think I had enough experience to feel comfortable that I knew, my craft. Okay. But trying to get business, I mean, that was a whole new story. What do you say to get business? I mean, so these were things I just used instinct. I just, used relationship knowledge. I knew something about them. They knew something about. If people don't know something about you, I mean, how do you trust someone you don't know, right? So, little things you can tell about yourself, people really help, I think, engender that trust and
Mhm.
and get you to a level of comfort so that they can give you work. They can feel like, okay, this is a person I really want to work with. Um,
How long did it take for you to land your first client?
wow, this is 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I landed two sizable clients in 2 weeks. Um, yeah, I don't. Well, okay, so I went. It wasn't out of the blue. These people that I mean, I knew who these people
Hmm.
were. I mean, I went to um, when I worked for this company I'll tell you who the company is. It was Loctite Corporation, which was a company in Connecticut. They're now called Henkel. Many years ago, Henkel bought them.
But they still produce Loctite
They
glue.
still produce Loctite, yeah, You familiar with
Sure.
Loctite glue? Yeah.
You use that product many times.
Yeah. Okay. I have a very good story on super glue to tell you at some point, because that used to be their product.
Mhm.
They still sell it under the super glue name, but super glue is a generic word now. Um, so, I went to make an appointment. I made the appointment with the general counsel of Loctite, which, you know, to get an appointment with the general counsel, usually you got to go through some people and it's not that simple. But I knew him. He once was the person who trained me. He was once a patent attorney and he rose to being a general counsel. He was also very good with people and he understood the business and he understood. So he gave me an audience and he walked me over to who was the head of the intellectual property department. And he walked me in and he said, Ed, I want you to meet a really good friend of mine, but an even better attorney. And he sat down and said, so hi, and Ed said, oh, nice to meet you. Now, was there some maybe indirect pressure there because the general counsel was bringing someone in? Probably. Yeah. But who am I to question that? I mean, it's still up to me to make a sale, right? It's still up to me to get this guy to trust me because he's the one on the line to give out work. And people don't understand. To give out work is work itself because you got to vet the person you're giving the work to. You got to figure out what is appropriate to give them. So that requires some time and effort. Timelines that you need it back. It's just not simple. You put your neck on the line when you give work out.
Mhm.
Because you will get questioned on every level. The cost of it, the timing of it, the quality of it, that'll all come back. So he gave me within the next week. So that was I visited him the first week. The next week, I got my first piece of work for him, and it's been going on. And in fact, that guy who gave me the first piece of work at Henkel is now a member of this firm. You see, what comes around goes around. You see?
You must have built one hell of a foundation over those 10 years that led up to you joining this firm for him to have so much confidence in you.
Yeah, I think it was just it was a lot of effort. I have to say, it was making good moves, solid moves, being honest too. When you don't know something, I always say, look, don't be afraid to tell people what you don't know. If you know everything, the chances are you're guessing. You don't know
Sure.
everything. So admit it. But tell them, here's what I think I can do to find these things out. You
Hmm.
got to be honest.
So when you joined Hoffman and Barron, how large was the firm?
Uh, maybe 6 people.
Got it. And you joined them, you're their first attorney in the state of New Jersey.
Right. And I was the
This was
first
a,
associate working by themselves. I mean, because I wasn't even a partner. I didn't become a partner because I had no business. And the first year, I brought $1.4 million worth of business into the firm.
this
And
is 1991, $1.4
yeah,
million, dollars,
yeah.
not 2025,
And then
1.4.
they said, you know what? That's really good. And I had no idea whether it was good or not. I really didn't know. I was not focusing on, that so much. I was focusing on just trying to learn how to do this stuff. How do you work in a firm?
In,
Um,
I gotta ask you, in the last 34 years, I'm sure that you've brought on quite a few associates yourself. Has any one of them generate $1.4 million in any year?
no, not a single associate. No. Would I like it? I would love it. I would love it. I have to say, I think it's harder now, Sasha. Even though you've got more ability to communicate through all the social medias and through video, but people almost are reluctant to get together. Like if you try to have a meeting and give a presentation, they want to do it over video. Oh, no, no, no. We'll just stay where we are. There's something about. Do you feel that? I mean, I feel that.
Maybe, but I'm curious. In 1991 or any prior years, has this firm had any partner or associate who year one would just knock it out of the park with 1.4 million dollars in
No,
business?
no, no.
So that's why like I keep on like as your story evolves, I keep on hearing just outstanding performance.
Well, I
I'm not blowing smoke up to you know what.
yeah.
It's just like it really sounds like outstanding, like being a
I
corporate
mean,
secretary within 10 years by your mid 30s. That's unusual.
well, I have.
Doing this is unusual.
Yeah. I mean, I do think I've been very, strategic, but I also there's been a fair amount of opportunity, and you can say, people say, well, maybe you were lucky, but luck is something that you have to recognize. You can't,
And be there.
you have to
Yeah.
be in the present. I mean, there's an analogy we say in baseball. The you win some, you lose some, and some get rained out. But you have to dress for them all. You have to, if you're going to be in the game, you got to get your suit on, no matter what. So I would go on a plane to Europe, to visit people, clients, and things like that. I'd bring back a client on the plane. I mean, they used to laugh because every time I take a trip, I bring back a client or two. Just being, wherever I am, I would talk to them and things like that. And I think it's just because I'm not like looking for money. I'm looking for relationships and to solve problems for people. And that's the portion which drives me. And the money always came. I always said to the associates, focus on the quality of the work and focus on the relationship. Those two things are going to bring you everything you need. And if they don't, you'll be satisfied anyway because you've got
Hmm.
a really good relationship and you've got something to be proud of.
It's really interesting. I find that a lot of lawyers focus on the quality of work and they have really mediocre financial outcomes in life. But it's because they focus on one out of the two things that you just mentioned. It's quality of work, not really focusing on the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, relationships are like anything else. They have to be nurtured. You can't just say he's a good friend of mine and never talk to him. I mean, you can't do that. You you know the close friends that you have, you've spent time with, and okay,
Sure.
after you spend a childhood with someone, yeah, will you always have that person? Yes, because you have some longevity and you have a history. But if you're only seeing people intermittently, the history is those moments that you contact them. You build those moments and they take
Yeah.
time together. So um, you need to just nurture the relationship by keeping in contact with him. I'm thinking of you, type of thing. And when you make phone calls to them or emails to them, it's not always about making a pitch. Don't you keep in contact with them because you like them as people, and they in turn understand that you're doing that, and not just they're not important just because they have business to give you.
Yeah, these are very serious soft skills that a lot of people are lacking, especially with, you mentioned younger generation not being really good on the phone.
Yeah.
And I have three kids, two of them are teenagers. They don't call, they snap, meaning they use
Yeah.
Snapchat
Yeah.
to chat with each other.
Yeah.
Every word is misspelled on purpose.
Yeah.
And for them to pick up the phone, the very same phone that they use to snap each other and actually call somebody, that is effort. Why would they do that when
Right.
I can just snap them?
Yeah, and I know. I mean, also, I say this to, I have three children, and they're all in their 20s, in their range in the 20s from the middle to the upper. And oftentimes they'll say, well, they won't pick up. I'm like, how do
How
you
do you know?
know? Have you tried? No, they're not going to pick up. Their phone's not even on audio. Why don't you try it? You never know. maybe you'll be the first one they ever picked up a phone call for, you know?
What do they do? What do your
Well,
children do?
my oldest is you may have heard of her. She's a singer-songwriter. She's written for a lot of well-known people, including Justin Bieber, and she and her husband, they recently got married a couple months ago. Her name is Tia Tia, that's her stage name, and they go by Beach Crimes is their group that the two of them have, and they're pretty well known in the music industry right now. They play a lot of venues, so
Wow.
that's what they do. My son in the middle, he was in finance, and he also was a professional dog trainer where he compete nationally and
Wow.
with national events with Belgian Malinois dogs and things like that. And he's currently transitioning to go into the real estate market, which is, hopefully will go up these days. And my youngest is in the golf. She's also a singer-songwriter, but she's trying to get her PGA license to play golf because she's a very good golfer. That's what they do.
So for your son, he definitely needs to get really comfortable making phone calls.
He sure does, but he's good at it. And
He's good at it. Good.
yeah, he's a very one of the guys you just genuine, and I think people sense when things are genuine or not. Um, you can always tell when someone is sort of like kind of genuine, but playing it off more that they just want to get going. They really don't want. They don't really not as interested as they appear to be. But he's
Do you
no.
think that your strive for excellence rubbed off on your children?
I think so. I mean, it looks like they have um, they, when they decide what their purpose is, they do try their very very hardest to make it the best. But you can get caught in the trap there too, because and this is a trap that early on in my profession I had to be careful of, and I think I stepped in it a lot. I had to pull my legs out of a difficult perfection oriented trap. You can't be perfect, and you can't always demand perfection. You can seek perfection, but don't get caught up in it because perfect. No one wants number one. No one wants to pay for a perfect product because a perfect product will almost never be done. You'll always be working on it, and you'll always spend more time on it. Number two, you have to recognize what's competent and what's enough, and stop. And that's a skill that takes some time to learn. You need to know what is enough to win, and you don't need to go that much further because it's going to be a waste of time. And that's the hardest part I think about any kind of job is figuring out sort of the limits on what's necessary to do a really excellent job. And it's going to be short of perfection by a lot, by the way, oftentimes. But that's okay.
Yeah. One of my advisors taught me to always mind the GE point, good enough point. So you have to find what good enough is and stick to it.
You do. I mean, it's good. It was good advice, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. That good enough can be excellent or close to excellent.
Yes.
And that's what your market demands of you. Or it can be McDonald's is excellent at producing very
Yeah.
inexpensive fast food. And they've done very well.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So going back to 1991, you land $1.4 million in business year one. Does that make you a partner?
No.
Why not?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
What else did they want out of you to make you a partner?
Well, I think I didn't accept the partnership they offered me after 3 years anyway, right away.
Okay.
I didn't. I said,
Why not?
because you're asking me to get married and I don't know if we've dated long enough.
After 3 years.
Well, don't forget, I'm by myself. I'm not with all the other people in the other office. I have to deal with them a lot, but I'm not always seeing them on a daily basis. I haven't seen every experience that I thought I wanted to see. I hadn't talked about hardcore economics, and how we share things and how they went about it. I didn't, that was their business. I was developing the business. So
Hmm.
I wanted to understand more about that before I said, okay, let's get into bed together and let's be a partnership. So I didn't accept right away. It took me about 6 or 7 months to come to that decision. And then I called them back and I said, okay, I think I want to do this.
Were they stunned when you did not accept?
I think they were.
Or did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Did any of them do $1.4 million in annual business when you joined? If you know, in
Yeah,
1991, did it?
their business was much, they had between the two equity partners at the time, they had certainly more business than that. But
Got it.
it
Okay. So
took
they
them a
were well
while.
established.
Yeah, but it took them a while. I mean, this was not a first year thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took them.
So they recognized you for your talent and for your work ethic. They brought you in. That decision paid off handsomely to the firm.
It did. I mean, it was a trusted thing. They trusted me. I came through on the trust thing. Yeah. Because don't forget, I could have just developed those clients and left.
Sure.
You never know. Your leverage in a firm is not just your skills, because you're competing with a lot of people who have skills. Your leverage is, what is your uh, book of business? What are the relationships you have with clients that want you involved in their daily life, want you involved in their legal decisions? That's your leverage. So, being a really super hard worker and a great attorney gives you, a certain stature in the firm, a certain, importance to the firm, but it doesn't necessitate that they make you a partner. Doesn't, unless they're so afraid to learn. Oh, I can't lose my right hand man. Okay, then you make them a
Mhm.
partner. Okay, fine. But your real leverage is your business, because that travels with you usually.
What made you decide to stay with them when you could have left?
Yeah, I mean, later on, I actually thought, well, gee, if I were thinking about it now, maybe that was the time to leave. But there was a part of me that it was I was going to give up more time than I wanted to, and I had my kids were at a certain age, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to spend time. I mean, I was involved, very very involved with my kids, in baseball and basketball and in dance.
But your kids, sorry to interrupt, but your kids weren't even born. So this offer came about 94, 95. So
Yeah, but
30
I
years
mean,
ago.
yeah, but what made me stay with the firm?
Stay past them. Okay.
Oh yeah, well, it I felt that I was going fine. I mean, I
Mhm.
was just starting to build the practice. I was just starting to learn how to really run a firm. I mean, I was on my own until I had to hire some people in. Then I hired people, and I was like, I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm hiring these people. I have to manage these people. What do I do here? There's when you manage a firm, there's a lot of other things. It's like managing a business, right?
It is managing a business,
Yeah.
100%.
So
It's a service
I
business.
said I
It
didn't
just
I didn't
happens
know
to
how
be a
to
legal
do
firm.
that. So I thought, well, I got to learn how to do this. So that's what made me stay then. What made me stay later on, when the business grew
Got it.
much bigger, was the fact that I didn't want to give up more of my time. I wanted to be able to spend some time with my kids, because they were all at the right ages where they were doing things. They were in programs, and I wanted to be there. So that's why I stayed. I could have made a lot more money if I had left. Yeah,
Are you happy with your decision?
yeah, I think it was the right decision. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't get back any of the time you spent, that would have been lost with your children or your memories or anything like that. And the relationships with your kids are what could be more important, really, people wise. Um, so that's what I made that decision to do. So I don't have any regrets about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That just makes so much sense. So how long did it take for you to hire your first associate for your office in New Jersey?
Uh, yeah, it took me, yeah, right after the first year. It was actually maybe just before the end of the first year. I hired my first two people. I had I was working without a secretary, by the way, for the first 3 quarters of the year. Did everything. I so, but then I hired my first attorney, a very experienced attorney. He still works with the firm. He's still on the letterhead, and I hired a secretary. And I moved from my home, which all that work had been done out of my home. I moved to a 1,200 square foot office, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is, now,
Made it.
yeah. So, and then the next year we moved to a 3,500 square foot, and I hired a couple more people, and sort of it grew sort of like that. Um, yeah,
So you attracted all that business by good old school relationship building,
yeah,
good people who you already knew, and then those relationships kept on growing. And
right,
they kept on connecting you with other people, I see.
yeah, that's exactly right.
And then you start building out your org chart. And it sounds like some of the original people from that org chart are still working there 30 something years later.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, there's a number of people still work here. Yeah, what my challenge now is to bring in enough younger people, and have sort of scale the graduations of age groups and experience groups. That's the difficulty I have right now, and I need a successor. Uh, that's that's important. I had a number of people groomed, but can't always keep everybody, so they left.
Maybe you'll be like Warren Buffett, who really named his successor well into his 90s.
Well, that would be wonderful. I mean, I plan on working for still a while yet. I mean, I enjoy what I do. Uh, I'm not wed to every minute of work, of course. I mean, I'm you know I'm, I play sometimes with my daughter. My daughter will play. My youngest daughter plays sometimes. They call them gigs, right? She'll play a gig where she's a singer songwriter, so she'll play, and I taught her piano, so I'll play out. I mean, that was my first love, piano. My father said, I'm not paying for music school. You'll do something you can make money off of.
Good
So
for him.
so that's what I do.
I,
So I have
I,
fun. Yeah. So
I have two professional musicians in the family.
oh, you do.
I'm glad your dad made that decision for you.
Uh, well, I tell you what, I am too. It worked out fine. Um, I think it's a very difficult business being in the music business. I don't know if I would have fared as well, to be honest. Uh,
It's a hard gig, pun
yeah,
intended.
yeah, it
It's a
is.
very, very, very hard gig.
Yeah, it is.
You've shared a lot of key moments and insights and ideas and skills that it took to get to where you are. Any lessons learned? Let's imagine that you could rewind the clock back 44 years to 1981 when you started in this profession. What would you have done differently, if anything?
Um, I think the biggest thing is I would have probably sort of got I was introspective, but even be a little more introspective and face certain decisions a little differently. I mean, a lot of times you're second guess yourself. A lot of times you're fearful about things, and fear is, I think, just is in everybody, right? And to let go of anxiety and fear is not an easy thing for a lot of people. Now, I do it differently. There's a spiritual side to me, so I don't, I don't worry about these things. We have only so much time in this life, and that's how I focus my life. That's where I come from. And I probably should have, if I had to go it again, I would have taken what I know now about those things, and I would have done them then. My anxiety level over the years has gone down. I can't tell you a factorial, descent, really. And it's not because I don't care. It's because I can only have control of certain things, and the rest I have to leave to what's going to happen. So, and I have a lot of trust that things generally will work out. So,
I deeply appreciate you sharing your journey and a lot of insights.
yeah. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to have this talk. It's very nice.
Yeah, congratulations on your success. It's very, 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 and I have a lot of successful law firm owners on this podcast. But your journey, like many other journeys, is uncommon. I've never heard a story such as yours. It's really, really remarkable.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
yeah, my hats off to you.
Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
it. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, yeah. You've conducted a great interview. You did a really nice job. I felt very comfortable. That's important. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.